Go. Why do we open with that? Why don't we open with more grunting on our episodes?
What's your favorite quote from Clueless that you remember?
Oh goodness.
Rolling with the homies.
Yeah. Balls flying at my face. Is that a line from this movie? As if that's a movie. I like it when she says Calvin Klein because she says it in a very specific way. It's Calvin Klein.
It's Calvin Klein. Okay.
I've only seen this once. That's why I'm struggling.
Hey, Damon.
Yeah.
Welcome to Your Inner Child is an Idiot. This is the podcast that you and I do together.
Oh, okay.
It's where we look back on things from our childhood and see if they're
I'm
good.
hearing about it.
It's when we look back. What we'll do is we'll revisit things from our childhood and see if they were any good. And,
hold on, I'm writing this down.
My name's DJ, just in case you forgot.
Should I say my name even though you've said my name?
Yes.
I'm Damon.
You already said that. You already said that.
I shouldn't say it again.
No.
Okay.
Now I made it weird. Hey, listener. Hello. We're actually talking to you now. We're going to talk about Clueless today. Sorry, that was terrible. Should I just do that whole thing again?
No, keep it. It's all great. They're our friends.
Like equals.
Like friends, Jerry.
Today we're talking about Clueless. 1995? Oh, thank you. I thought you were just waving. Alicia Silverstone.
Stacey Dash.
Stacey Dash.
America's favorite conservative voice.
Brittany
Stacey
Murphy.
Dash. Donald Faison.
Donald Faison, a very, very young, but still looking almost exactly the same Paul Rudd.
Dan Hedaya, not looking very young.
No, looking like a pit bull, like usual.
Yeah, looking like a college mascot.
Yeah. You haven't seen this movie since the 90s, is that what you said?
No, that's not what I said. So, first off, how dare you?
Mean, that's why I've
seen it once. It's one of those movies that just was not a movie I saw. I said I was sorry. And I was forced by my lover to watch it.
Okay. Recently?
Somewhat recently, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay. So this is pretty fresh on your brain.
And I think I annoyed him because what my skill is, as we've covered in previous episodes, is recognizing other actors by name.
Sure.
And my brain doesn't have an ability to not say them out loud at the top of my lungs. So I think this movie is rife with character actors from previous movies as in the older roles, and then a lot of like up and coming stars in the younger roles.
Wallace Shawn, for example, is in this.
America's favorite lateral lisp.
Yes.
Actually, frontal lisp. Dan Hedaya, like I just said. The sexual enthusiastic friend on Look Who's Talking. Gotta hand it to her.
What?
She plays the history teacher.
That's right. I didn't even put that together.
She might actually hold on. Hold on.
A little quick research for everybody. Let's do some quick research music.
What song? Flawless. You know what I like about it? It's flawless. No, she's not the person I was thinking. Twink Kaplan is the woman from Look Who's Talking.
Oh, okay.
She plays, I think, like the history teacher or one of the teachers in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And what's her name? R.I.P.
Brittany Murphy?
Yeah, Brittany Murphy is in it.
Yeah. Yeah. This was, I guess this was a breakout role for Alicia Silverstone, but she had been in at least some of the Aerosmith videos already, right? By the time this movie came out?
At least 2, right?
Because I think she was in 3 total, 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's a trilogy.
I know people, a lot of people our age know this, but like, do the kids who still know who Alicia Silverstone is, do they know about the Aerosmith videos? Like, is that lost to time, or is that, like, those were a very big deal as well? We must have talked about those during Armageddon and probably Lord of the Rings, because I remember them
Liv Tyler was in them.
as a young male of burgeoning sexuality when those came out.
Burgeoning heterosexuality as well.
Yes,
and
those were very
That was
important
target audience for those Aerosmith videos. I mean, you're already watching an Aerosmith video, so they might as well put in some live women.
Including the lead singer's daughter.
Ooh, what are you thinking? I'm trying to think, like, would there be a specific age range of people who'd be aware of Alicia Silverstone,
one but not the other,
but not aware of Aerosmith? Because no offense to Alicia Silverstone, she's a storied actress with many roles under her belt, but her heyday was very much the mid 90s. And so I'm trying to think if, would kids even know her today?
They probably know her mostly as the mom from the recent
Babysitters Club.
Canceled Babysitters Club. This movie rules, in my recollection, and I've seen it recently enough that I feel like I'm not going to be surprised by
it continuing to rule.
Yeah, I'm gonna look hard. I'm gonna watch hard, but I don't expect my opinion to change.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna put your eyeball right on the screen. I'm not gonna blink. I'm gonna get those guys from A Clockwork Orange. Just tape my eyes open and just put the little eye droplets. I'm gonna watch the hell out of this movie.
Yeah. This meant nothing to you growing up, this movie. So we have nothing to talk about here.
No, and I don't want to hold it against Clueless, but Clueless was a wide-ranging, many people loved Clueless, but a lot of the people I associate with loving the movie Clueless were the people in my high school that are best described as stone cold bitches that I did not like. Mean girls, to use the language of a slightly later time.
Yeah.
So I had a predilection to avoid those type of movies out of just projecting. So I tended to avoid Clueless. And I will admit, I missed out on a lot of fun movies because sometimes those girls had good taste.
Yeah, and
not in boys at my school, but in movies sometimes.
Right, in movies. And this is one of those that, like, because of the age that I was when it came out, and like it could have easily fallen into like, that's a girl movie, I'm not going to watch it. But because they had so many stone cold foxes in it,
you can be a stone cold bitch or you can be a stone cold fox. Those are the two routes.
Those are the two choices.
Or Stone Cold Steve Austin. Those are the three options for stone coldedness.
Austin 3:16, which means please watch Clueless. Be kind, rewind.
It's a very specific Bible verse for his Bible. I still don't really follow the stone cold thing. He seems like a fun guy, though, actually.
He does. So I don't know if maybe my sister watched this. I'm not like, where did I first encounter this? Because I can't imagine specifically going to pick this out at the video store or go to see it in the movie. But at some point I have seen this movie hundreds of times, probably. Like maybe dozens.
Were you an Emma super fan? Because I know this is a modernization of Emma, so that might be what it was.
I definitely knew that. I definitely made all the references when I was watching it, and I definitely was like, okay, I don't like how they did that. From
you probably just went with all your Jane Austen book club to go see Clueless.
Well, my club was imaginary, but I did bring all the books to the movie theater. So
that's your book club.
That's my book club.
A club full of books.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't want to spoil your verdict, but did you like it when you watched it a couple of years ago?
I can't remember, DJ. We'll just have to find out.
Okay,
together.
Great.
I mean, I do remember, but I'm keeping a secret.
Okay, it's a secret. Well,
it's called Tell, Don't Show. That's what I always say.
Well, I have nothing else to say, so let's watch Clueless. What do you say?
Great. I'll meet you there at the Clueless cinema.
Watch along with us. We'll be right back. Hey, Damon.
Yes?
Do you think if Cher Horowitz were living in the present day, she would support any of our favorite podcasts on patreon.com, especially patreon.com/YourInnerChild'sAnIdiot? We'd be one of her favorite podcasts, obviously.
Yeah, but I mean, are we talking about Act 1 Cher Horowitz or Act 3 Cher Horowitz when she gets really, worldly and like trying to do the right thing?
I definitely think Act 3...
And this is the right thing.
This is the right thing.
This podcast is definitely one of the things that you should be as concerned about with, Bosnia, pollution and a podcast, a form of media that won't exist for another 25 years.
I do think Act 3 Cher is more likely to, support her local NPR station, which is similar to what we're doing. Hard-hitting, important reporting. With a slight liberal bias.
And we both have smooth, smarmy voices.
And
this is
expensive.
James coming in to you. We're talking about Clueless today. If you're just joining us. That's it. I didn't have anything else. I was hoping that you'd cut me off, but you didn't.
So be like Act 3 Cher Horowitz. YourInnerChildIsAnIdiot.com will lead you to Patreon page, and you can... what? Patreon.com/.
Are you explaining a 301 redirect to everyone? What is going on here?
Support the show. Just do it or don't. It's fine.
Ads. How ads work. Do it or don't. That's implied, ad.
Hey, everybody. We watched Clueless. And let's see. I think I can recap this one. Do you need me to do it?
I'd love for you to do that.
Okay. Cher Horowitz is a rich young socialite, high school student in the hills of Beverly, and she's a bit shallow. But over the course of the movie, she learns that maybe I should care about other people. But mostly it's because she has a crush on her ex stepbrother, and so she does some things to improve other people's lives. She improves the lives of
mostly.
Matchmaking. A new student named Ty, Brittany Murphy, comes and she helps give her a makeover, helps her find love, helps the people suffering in Pismo Beach, and learns to be a better person. And then gets to eventually, I assume, do it with her ex-stepbrother, Paul Rudd.
No questions there.
Happy ending.
I guess. Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, we've already covered Twink Kaplan in the first part.
Yeah, we have a murderer's row cast here. We got
the very idea. Go on.
Alicia Silverstone.
Yep, that's one murderer.
We got Stacey Dash.
Yeah, that's another murderer.
Wallace Shawn. How dare you?
Inconceivable, absolutely, yeah.
Twink Kaplan. See, this. If I start counting things like this is where it gets awkward.
I just want to point out that 50% of our murderers row is Twink Kaplan and Stacey Dash.
It's Paul Rudd.
Better. The murderers row is getting better.
Dan Hedaya.
Yes, my murderer.
Is that how
my
you say
murderer
his name?
of choice.
I've never said that name out loud.
I've never actually. You've seen it on 1,000 movies. I think it's Dan Hedaya. Is what I've always said.
That's what it sounds. It sounds right. We got Jeremy Sisto.
Oh yeah, Law and Order season 13 to 14.
He's Billy from 6 Feet Under.
Comes back in 17.
And
don't forget, Jeremy Sisto also played Jesus in the made-for-TV movie Jesus.
We also got Julie Brown. Not that Julie Brown.
Not
the
Downtown.
Other Julie Brown.
The other Julie Brown. Who I actually prefer as a Julie Brown. Can I go so far as to say that? When I was a kid, she did a parody of Madonna's Truth or Dare called Medusa Dare to Be Truthful, which me and Jason watched a lot of because Jason was a Madonna, queer. And I was his little brother. So it was just like, I'll watch whatever you're watching. And I remember she does a concert in the Philippines, which she keeps calling the Philippines, and a volcano goes off during her concert, and she keeps performing while ash keeps going in her mouth. It's pretty funny.
That's pretty funny. Donald Faison.
Yeah, of Scrubs fame. And Clueless, the show. That was the one that blew me away, was that Donald Faison came back for Clueless, the show.
Well, this is... well pre-Scrubs, so he didn't have anything else going on. Right,
I guess so. I was just surprised looking at the cast, how much of the actual original cast came back for the show, but not Alicia.
Guest spot by Brittany Murphy, apparently. This is all
really?
just from
to explain
Wikipedia
Ty's
research.
sudden disappearance.
No, I think in the Wikipedia, I haven't seen it, but like she's playing a different character, so I think it was just like a little wink to the audience.
Okay. A little Easter egg. Right? We call that an Easter egg now, and there'd be a 20-minute YouTube video about it.
We're going to break down scene by scene.
Right.
Brittany Murphy's guest spot on the Clueless TV show from 1996.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Okay, so I'm gonna be very careful here because now I was age appropriate when this came out. So I have these like crush feelings that I remember from when I was a child. But
look, I've said what I've said about Atreyu in our Neverending Story episode. I feel like you're in the clear to say whatever you want.
I'm just gonna say, Alicia Silverstone and Zesty Dash are very, very cute in this movie, and Brittany Murphy as well.
They are very symmetrical. They
had it.
Keep themselves clean. They clean their nails, I imagine.
Probably. Never thought about that, but you're probably
well-scrubbed knees, I imagine.
Yes.
These are the things the guys are into?
They're well-groomed. Are they friends with Amber or not? I know that they have like a kind of frenemy thing going on with her. Amber is the kind of redheaded lady who's like the butt of most of the jokes.
Yeah, I think I don't think of it as a frenemy. I think they're sort of semi-rivals, or Amber would wish she was a rival of Cher, as if one might say. But yeah, I think I always thought they were friends before I watched the movie. I thought they were friends because Amber was so prominent in the advertising for the movie. And then also she was in the show. And I think based on the screenshots I saw of the TV series, I think they sort of upgraded her to friend because they were like, well, we got this one from the main cast. Bring her in. Yeah. But yeah, I thought they were rivals. They never really expressed any enjoyment about her. And she seems to sort of clean up after Cher's leavings, specifically Jeremy Sisto.
Right. Well, in the beginning, they're like, they're kind of just showing like a montage of them having fun, being rich, and Cher even in the monologue, the narration says, what is this, a Noxzema commercial? But Amber is like hanging out with them, and she's like in the friend group. Like she is like in the photo that they take with Ty when she's trying to hook Ty.
Right, but everything they say to her directly seems like they are not friends. Yeah.
I'm sorry, my plastic surgeon said I can't do any activities where there are balls flying in my nose.
There goes your social life.
We usually don't say that first part, but we do quote, "There goes your social life." Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a, that's what she said. You can kind of use it in various circumstances. Great. Yeah. I feel like I need to explain this more to you. You're not really getting it.
I did with the Noxzema commercial. There are a lot of jokes in this that still land, but there are some where I'm like, does that make any sense to anyone even just slightly younger than me?
There's a lot of dated reference in this, but it's very like, I still find it like I didn't forget any of the references. It was so prominent. Like, right. But I do.
No, I mean, I what a Noxzema commercial looks like is very much ingrained in my frontal cortex. So don't worry about me, movie. I'm good. I'm just concerned about anyone who's even just 6 months younger than me, not understanding what's going on.
I kind of hope they don't, but you absolutely could remake this today with like, she would be an influencer type today.
Yeah. I wouldn't have the patience for it. I mean, I feel like one of the genius things about the Cher character is that she toes a line between just being really obnoxious and being a really sweet girl. And I think Alicia Silverstone's performance as Cher really tips the scale into the very charming, winning personality. She has a really good heart, even if she's just sort of a privileged, California girl who's she's not dumb in any way. I would say ditzy, which I sort of put on a different category. She's not like book smart. But she is smart. Like she almost has, it reminded me a little bit of Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes. Just like she uses words in a way that you wouldn't expect someone like her to use. Yeah. She's got I find it very charming.
Got a good vocabulary, which is actually on her report card. It's this very good vocabulary. And then in her geometry score says nice shapes.
I did see that.
I don't know if that was someone being kind of slightly perverted, or if it was just, I don't know what to say about geometry.
Right. I took it as the latter.
Yeah. That's more fun if you think about it that way. We also, before I say that, I just wanted to agree with you. I think that she could very easily be an absolutely intolerable main character, and she's not. She's funny, and what is that? Oh,
it's turning on the fan. It's a little warm in here.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to start that over just because I lost my train of thought. It's not your fault. Okay.
Don't do this to me, man. Don't do this to me, man. Go on.
She could very well be a completely intolerable main character just by what she's playing. She's playing this like super rich kid who's, like you said, kind of flighty and very full of herself, but the way she plays it, and it's just sweet enough and also funny. That's part of it too.
Yeah.
She's very charming. Even in the beginning when she's kind of an asshole, she's still pretty funny. One thing that Lauren mentioned, that she always really hoped that the fashion computer that she has that helps her pick outfits would come to fruition, and it never did. At least not for
it. Really
Lauren.
never did, and it really speaks to a level of AI that I feel like the NASA scientists or many number of scientists would love to get their hands on this idea of being able to pick the right amount of clashing plaids to go together. That's no easy task.
Mm-mm.
There are people who've studied for years and can't do it.
Pattern recognition, it's tough. You need a human brain for that.
I do like that. I mean, she needed a computer to say that this outfit that clearly was purchased together. This very specific yellow and black plaid. You needed a computer to figure this out?
I think it was, part of it is she has so many clothes. She probably forgot that
she needs a database to be able to scroll through, because she already has the closet that has two separate spinning automated carousels. Like a dry cleaner. And then she also has this computer system that I can't imagine the updates every time she goes shopping.
Oof.
I forgot how hat-focused we were in the 90s. I gotta say that. I mean, Stacey Dash especially has just a number of hats. Yeah. It looks like Easter Sunday every time she goes to school. But also there's a lot of, hats. Cher has one in a shopping scene that was very Blossom-like.
Yes.
It's very. I forgot that we were wearing so many hats.
Why do I have to wear, to quote one of the greatest songwriters of our generation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why do I have to wear so many things on my head? End quote. Amy Grant.
Amy Grant wrote that for the Clueless soundtrack, but she didn't have the pop culture crossover effect yet, so they just had to push her off, and she was like, I guess I'll release it on my Christian Contempo album instead.
They're like, Amy Grant, she's so 1991. I don't want to just quote, because this could be a quote fest. I've got a lot of them written down. So
it's a very quotable movie.
We can do a quote roundup later, but I do the first thing. One of the first conversations that she has with her dad. He says,
Dan Hedaya. I just want to say his name every time we talk about it.
Don't tell me those brain dead lowlifes have been calling again. They are your parents. Excellent.
Also, wait, while we're on the subject, I just want to say Dan Hedaya plays Grump very well. He's been a Grump. I mean, he just has that look of Grump.
He looks like that, yeah.
And he, in this, my favorite line that actually made me pause the movie was, Ty had just been introduced to the school, and Cher brings her over to the house, and they're sitting down for dinner. They're sitting at the dinner table, and Dan Hedaya's character just walks in, and Cher goes, "Hey, Daddy, this is my friend Ty." And she's about to continue talking, and he just screams, literally screams, "Get out of my chair!" And then she, without saying anything, Ty just gets up and moves to another chair. But that's how he greeted another human being that is gifted with God's grace and dignity. That's how he talked to them.
This human was blessed by an angel upon birth, giving us, a fontanelle and a philtrum by the angel Gabriel, or whatever the fuck that is. Before
she was born, Christ knew the number of hairs on her head, and yet Dan Hedaya screamed, "Get out of my chair!" at her.
Wallace Shawn plays like a kind of a little bit of a sad sack teacher. It's like English. What does he teach? Not English.
No, he's teaching debate, isn't he?
Debate. That's right.
Or is it more than that? What is the larger class you would be in when you would learn debate? We had a debate class though in my school.
I got
or speech class.
Speech, yeah, that's right. We did have to do debate in English class though too. I don't know, but he's not our English teacher because she gets good grades in English, but then has to fight for this one. I can't remember what class it is, but debate is basically debate, even if it's not
forensics. Yeah, whatever.
But he does get some Wallace Shawn is. I wouldn't say he's underused, but he's a very small part in this, and I appreciated his. I think maybe because I was looking, because I was like, oh yeah, Wallace Shawn is in that. I kind of forgot, and then just kind of paid more attention. And he does get. It's just his reaction to the things the idiot kids do. He's not a pushover, but he does kind of like let them just do stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, because Travis Birkenstock, played by Breckenmeyer.
Flawless name.
We forgot him. We're in the Murderer's Row.
Oh, yeah. Murderer's Row. Breckenmeyer.
You may also know him as not Seth Green.
You might also know him as John Arbuckle from the Garfield duology that Bill Murray got tricked into doing. That's something.
That is. He was in a lot of 90s stuff, but this is probably the thing I most knew him from, first of all. But he gets what does he do first? He gets an award not an award. He gets the most tardies in the class, and he gives like a speech, like he won an Oscar or something. And while Shawn just kind of lets it happen, and then goes, "Okay, you're an idiot." basically, he's not really. You can tell in his head he's like, these fucking kids, but he's like just kind of letting it happen, but not in a like Miss Geist gets like bowled over, but he seems like he's like, no, but yeah, you can talk for a minute. What do I care?
Right. I took it as like, he's kind of a hard ass grade wise, obviously as part of the plot. But he seems like I took it as he genuinely likes the kids. I almost said loves, but that's not true. He likes the kids, but he's not a pushover when it comes to grades. He will still grade you tough.
Right.
But he seems to like them enough that he's not like, shut up, get off of my, he's not like pushing him over. It didn't feel like he was being a pushover, but it also didn't feel like he was completely put out by by Travis. I want to call him Travis Bickle, but that's a completely different character. Travis Birkenstock.
He's kind of like amused by, Cher's very zero researched speeches, but well delivered. And he's always like kind of amused, but is also like, that does no.
Yeah. He will still give you a fucking D minus for it.
Do you think the cell phone walk and talk joke, like, feel like that doesn't, I don't think people would think that is as ridiculous.
Right. It doesn't hit the same way as it did at the time. Cause I have often like lost Tyler in a store and I just called him until I find him. And then I put my phone away. So I've done a Stacey Dash walk and talk. It doesn't hit the same way as it did then. I mean, even just, I think the kids having cell phones is a signifier in this movie that doesn't land the way it used to. Yeah. I think the fact that almost everyone at least, has a cell phone in this movie is supposed to be like kind of a joke. Look at all these rich fucking kids. Like,
imagine all these children
the same way
having cell phones, and we were all like, "No, that's absurd."
It's supposed to read the same way as Cher having a database for her, for all of her clothes. Like, it's ludicrous.
Yeah, one of those came true, and the other did not.
I did also enjoy the joke. I don't know if I ever picked up on this the handful of times I've seen this, that all these people have in the background and sometimes in the foreground have nose jobs or chin jobs. And they're just like going about I did like the girl trying to scratch her nose with her cell phone antenna.
Especially in the, when they're on their way to gym class, there's like a shot of like 4 girls. And then when they're waiting in line, their gym class is just waiting in line to like hit a few tennis balls.
Right. It's a useless class.
It's pretty funny. And then I like that Dion's excuse for not being able to hit is not that her plastic surgeon said no, like Amber. It's that her tennis instructor said he doesn't want anyone else infringing upon his tutelage.
It's great. And I mean, we also see Cher. She has a masseuse that comes in. And then there was another thing where she used, I can't remember if she used this as an excuse or as a genuine reason, but she had to like get up early because her fitness, like her personal trainer was coming by.
Yeah.
It's a different world over there, is what this movie's saying. Which is funny because I mean, it is an as we said in the intro, it's an adaptation of Emma.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I think that's its way of like, you know, the gentry of the British, you know, agricultural area. This is Beverly Hills is that equivalent of, you know, the British aristocracy, the moneyed class.
I was reading, I don't think I've read Emma, but I did read about it, and it seems like kind of loosely based on, which is obvious, like, but it's not.
I mean, this is set in a Beverly Hills high school,
but it's also like it's not just
the differences.
It's not just updated for the times. It's also like, yeah, that character is kind of it's Paul Rudd. Or maybe this other one, you know what I mean? Like if you get, it's not necessarily except for Cher and
don't forget Elton.
People.
There is a Mr. Elton.
There is a Mr. Elton
in Emma,
but it does seem a little bit like I think that's fine. I'm not criticizing it, but I just mean like it isn't 1-to-1 like I was maybe.
It's not a 1-to-1, but I mean I also have not read Emma, so I was just reading sort of a synopsis just out of curiosity of how close this lands, and there is like, I mean, it does a good job of like finding a cultural equivalent, and like Elton rejects Ty because, you know, they don't make sense together. Do you know who his dad is essentially his response. And that's kind of what Mr. Elton in Emma says, is that he's like, no, he's like a social climber, and he's not going to marry someone who's like below him or at the same level as him. He's looking to get up in the world, so he's trying to marry up. I mean, it's pretty on the nose.
Yeah. I don't think
he's also named after Elton John, just like Mr. Elton.
Just like the original. Yeah. That's how.
I did laugh. I mean, they make a joke that Dion and Cher are named after, you know, singers from the 1970s who now do infomercials, which was true about Cher before she released Do You Believe in Life After Love?
Right.
But I also suspected that was the case with Elton. And then my headcanon is that Murray is named after Canadian singer-songwriter Anne Murray. Actually, Canadian singer. I don't know if she's actually a songwriter.
I'm not sure. I can neither confirm nor deny that. I just want to say that's Elton in this movie is Jeremy Sisto's character is a piece of shit, but also
he's a monster.
I do want to work in beneath his station more. I do like to like that phrasing.
Beneath his station, guard sees him. These are all great. Today I was watching a show and someone said, "You're out of line." And it was a modern show. And I was like, honestly, does anyone say that? That's one of those phrases that's just in movies and TV shows. I've never told anyone they're out of line.
Just like saying things twice.
You're out of line.
It's like saying
you say anything something slightly offensive and I call you out of line.
Listen, mister. Listen, buster.
That's beyond the pale.
Paul Rudd is in this movie. Do you want to talk about it?
Babyface Paul Rudd, which is also contemporary Paul Rudd, but I'm talking about 1995 Paul Rudd. As we said in our Patreon exclusive episode for Ghostbusters Afterlife, he's a very charming man. He plays a very specific type of guy. He's like college radio guy is the vibe I'm getting from him. They kind of mock him for listening to Radiohead, which I'm like, I don't know. That seems like a very 1995, popular kid thing to do. But then he listens to Counting Crows later on. I'm like, fuck this guy. He's a tool.
No one listened to them in 1995.
But he's very cute. And there it is weird that the show sort of manipulates me into rooting for these ex-step siblings to, put their genitals near each other's genitals.
It's one of those things that I know it's not technically a problem, but it is a little, feels a little,
just a shudder down your spine.
Don't it's a little too close. Find someone else, both of you.
You are the two most fuckable people in this movie, but come on. Yeah, I mean, with the show, the movie almost goes out of its way to try and find a way, to sort of let it, like, of course, they're not related by blood. He was only, her step sibling for, 4 or 5 years or something ridiculous. Yeah. And I think most of the time he doesn't like hang around, so they're not like close in any way. He sort of like comes to Danadea's house because it doesn't seem like he gets along with his parents. Yeah. It's doing a lot of legwork to be like, it's cool. And I'm like, in Emma, he just sort of lives next door and they've been close their whole life. You don't see how that's a lot easier than all this flop sweat explanation about why it's okay that these ex-siblings get together.
When Cher even says, like, at the end, they cut to a wedding. And she's like, as if I'm only 16, and plus this is California, not Kentucky. Which is funny, but also like, so then Cher, that this is weird. I mean, it's not illegal. You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
And I mean, if they were to get married, they would establish themselves as a couple, and, only if someone asked the specific question, how did you two meet? Which is a question you get asked less and less as you are a consistent couple. Right. Eventually you wouldn't have to mention that you once, had the same legal guardians, but not blood parents.
We didn't want to, when we first started dating, it wasn't that we were ashamed of where we met, but we didn't want to answer a bunch of questions about it. So, we would just say we met, I think it was like at a coffee shop or something.
You've told me this. You were telling people you met at a Starbucks because you didn't want to tell people that you met each other at a snake handling church that you both attended in rural Kentucky.
There's just going to be a lot of questions that I don't feel like
Where do you get those bites from? Why do you guys have the same sort of bites?
Why do you call it charismatic when it is absolutely not charismatic?
And it's just one specific verse in the New Testament. Like, that's really a lot to hang on an entire church. So it's like Starbucks. We met at a Starbucks. Don't worry about it.
We met at a Starbucks. The majestic adventure music they play when they go to the mall for the first time was lovely. Yeah. I also noted here all the nose jobs. It's very good.
I just crossed it off my list. I've already talked about the nose jobs.
Just get this out of the way. A couple things that are culturally ixnay now that were a little bit, you would call them, I guess,
less ixnay.
Less ixnay at the time. Sorry, I phrased that very weird. They used the R word a couple of times. Yeah. And that's a slur. Wouldn't recommend it. Unless, don't do it. It's a thing where, like, of course you could use it in a movie today, but it would not sit well with someone who is like a main character that you're trying to be charming, trying to make charming.
You would use it today to show how terrible the character who is saying it would sound.
And also something that people are reasonably more sensitive to today. Cher clearly has some disordered eating that she's working through, which at the time was just a way of making fun of, Valley Girls or whatever. Mm-hmm. She talks about how she had, like a peanut and 4 M&Ms or something. And there's a few references.
Of popcorn. Yeah.
There's a few references.
It was like a startlingly few calories.
Yeah. And it was kind of like, okay.
She was telling Ty to to her credit, she never mocks Ty's body or anything. But she does have this scene where they do Buns of Steel, another very specific mid-90s reference.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, it's not terrible, but then she's talking about all the other exercise routines she does, how little she eats, things like that.
Yeah. It comes up a few times and it's never a serious, it's a joke or just kind of a way of, sketching her character more. Whereas now you might actually be like, oh, this is an indicator of a clear issue that you might want to talk to someone about.
Cher, sit down for a minute, huh? Let's wrap.
Do you think, okay, so here's a question. Where does the line of people that Thank God you've got a question.
I would have been able to tell it was a question because your voice would have gone up at the end. But thank you for prepping me ahead of time so I could brace myself.
I have a giant question mark that I always just bring down in front of the screen. So this is playing on the sort of Valley Girl thing. Well, I mean, I know she's not from the Valley; she's from Beverly Hills, but that sort of
very specifically not from the Valley. That's an hour away.
Everywhere in LA takes 20 minutes. That's another thing that hasn't aged well.
That's a lie. I've been to LA.
Yeah, we were just there. That is not true. But that's the thing that, like, you know, in the specifically in the 80s and then into the 90s, like the Valley Girl thing, which is like mocking people from California. And they like, do people get that? Like now, I mean, I guess they had that sketch not that long ago on SNL where the people were talking about, yeah, I'll take the 405 to the 5, which is a similar thing.
Well, there was a Valley Girl movie.
Yeah.
I had to confirm this. I was like, did I dream this or did I see it on a pop-up video? But it was the latter, thank God. All information I gathered from pop-up bubbles has been tattooed in my brain. I can't remember my boyfriend's middle name. 1983 was Valley Girl, which was like a play, I think was the first like wide-reaching, like, here's the stereotype of the Valley Girl, the lakes. Yeah. Like, cause, you know, whatever.
Wasn't that like a Zappa song too? Or something?
Oh yeah, that sounds familiar. Right?
Yeah.
But this almost like, I feel like that movie was definitively making fun of Valley Girls. And it feels like this movie is just trying to, I mean, it's a little bit like winking and nodding and nudging and a what say no more. But it also feels like you're supposed to relate to these Valley Girls. You're like, it's almost like they're not so bad. They're just being teens.
Yeah.
So
like your rural Nebraska teens are so cool. Like they're so much better. Right. They're different kind of idiots. Right? We were all idiots.
So, I mean, I feel like it's almost like Valley Girl, the 1983 movie, introduced the idea, and then Clueless sort of like almost like took the not the edge off, but took the like sort of stigma away. And it was like, you know what, just be yourself and you can say like and as if and whatever and loser and you can do the W with your hands. Whatever.
It is kind of like, it is mocking it, but also celebrating it.
I just said whatever while making fun of Valley Girl. I just realized that I had engaged in the trope while talking about it.
Well, and there are absolutely, you know, the sort of surfer dude kind of thing. There are male versions of this, but like it's also deeply rooted in misogyny too. Like just anything a woman does, like, oh, I hate your vocal fry or whatever. You know what I mean? There's some reason that I, you know, can make myself feel better as a man, you know, because so
you're talking when I could be talking. Why is this happening?
Yeah. Maybe I'll talk louder.
Maybe she needs me to explain how conversation works.
Remember when nose rings were rare? We make fun of Dion's nose ring a little bit. She sneezes.
Right. Well, this is prior to What If God Was One of Us, which really, you know, brought the nose ring into the canon. It is charming to see these things.
Like one of us.
I was very. This is. I feel like this is right on the line, and I was a little confused. There were, I think, Donald Faison's character Murray, which makes him sound like he's going to a deli to get soup. But Murray, he has a tattoo. He has a chest tattoo, not a chest like we would have today in this current age we live in, where it would be across the clavicle. He has just one right over his nip. But I was like, what high schooler has tattoos in 1995 specifically? Like now, yeah, of course they all have them. But in 1995, I feel like that was very rare to see a teen with tattoos. But I'm also not a Californian teen. As Hollywood kept reminding me whenever I was watching a teen movie, and I was like, why are these kids at school, but they're in an outdoor space? Like all my common area spaces in my high school were like indoors, nondescript, corporate prison, you know, chic. Yeah.
Why do they get to eat,
why are they always like
Pizza
eating
Hut?
Outside? Yeah.
Why is their pizza not square? I don't understand.
And government issued.
Yeah.
Oh, Hollywood.
No, Hollywood.
Hollyweird in a way.
Wow.
Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention this when we were talking about Paul Rudd. He's cute. He's charming. He's got nice eyelashes. But here's the thing, and this proves that he's a serial killer. He puts when he's making a sandwich, he puts his mayonnaise on the luncheon meat?
On the meat.
What are you, Jeffrey Dahmer, you freak?
That was the weirdest thing.
Is there anyone I was blown away when I once watched a person make a bowl of cereal and they put milk in the bowl and then poured cereal into it. And I was like, what are you doing? There is an understood recipe for making a bowl of cereal, and it's not what you're doing. Or people who put like cream in their cup and then pour coffee into it.
Take a giant sip of water, then throw the pill in there. Just let it like dissolve in the water. What are you doing? What are you doing, man?
What are you, just eating raw meat off the bone?
What are you, one of those like pitcher trap plants? What are you doing? Sorry, I couldn't come up with that.
But I watched him do that, and it haunts me to this day.
I remember it from that bothered me when I was a kid. I remember like, what is he doing? And it's one of those things where, actors love to have like stuff to do, right? It just helps it seem more normal, so you're not just like standing in room and talking. So but I love that when it's weird, because they're not really doing, they're doing the thing, but what they're actually doing is acting a scene. And so sometimes they'll do really weird choices. Sometimes because it's like actors aren't actually human in a lot of cases.
Right. They're weirdos, and they've been, surrounded by yes men. But in this case, it feels like just like an awkward thing. And he probably, even after he did it, he's like, why did I do that?
I
hope they don't go with this edit.
So we did 35 other takes. Surely they're not going to use the one where I put the mayo directly on the ham. Bizarre.
Also, they had a Dan Hedaya. There's part of me that wishes I was Cher Horowitz, because he has a whole refrigerator drawer full of ham. You see that?
That was
like he probably takes that bin to the grocery store and just says, fill it up. Weigh the drawer, tear it, and then start just filling it with ham, and I'll pay whatever the difference is.
Don't forget to zero it out. The drawer does have weight.
Yeah, that's the tearing. That's the tearing. But I just want to say, like, it reminded me, him putting the mayonnaise on the luncheon meat. It is sort of the equivalent of like people in movies wearing glasses taking their glasses off.
Yeah.
It's like, no. I know you want to do something with your hands, but that is wrong, and I feel like it's wrong.
The only time I take my glasses off is when I do this. Which I do.
When someone asks you to do a recap of a movie you didn't enjoy, and you have to take your glasses off to rub the bridge of your nose.
It's no spoiler, but might have done that when we had to watch The Crow. Let's see what else. Elton loves the Cranberries.
Yeah, he has to get his Cranberry CD before someone. What did they say? What did he use?
Before someone snags it.
Snags it.
And then he was also singing along to the Cranberries in the car when he's trying to woo Cher.
Excellent. Yeah. Jeremy Sisto. He is a very particular looking man. This is him at his handsomest, because he still has got that 21-year-old skin. But everything. His eyebrows are odd to me. They're like little triangles or something. They're like if you draw a little mountain, you're just quickly drawing a landscape and you draw a little mountain, just like a little, like a little part, 2/3 of a triangle, just like a carrot. He's a weird looking fella, is what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is this thing he can't control makes him humorous to me. He is thus a lesser person. I've knocked him down a few notches. Now I'm the better person. Now I get to drive around singing the Cranberries by myself.
I hope he's a good guy in real life, because he has that he always plays someone like kind of weird or lecherous.
Like Jesus.
Kind of, like Jesus. I guess maybe always is not true. I don't know who he plays in.
Jesus, I'm just trying to eat my soup. Stop sitting so close to me.
Why do we have to follow you? This is weird.
Yes, you told me who your father was. God, I'm just trying to fish, man. Yeah, I get it. Fisher of men. I got it.
Good.
Yes,
You're
so fucking clever. It was just as clever on Tuesday, too. I just want to point that out. And just because you scream it from the middle of the Sea of Galilee, no one's fucking impressed. You keep pulling that parlor trick out of your back pocket.
So mad at Jesus.
Have you seen that Jesus, by the way?
No.
The best thing about
Jesus.
the best thing about that, it's kind of like when someone stupid is trying to say something smart, and so they make choices, and so you know Jesus is tempted by the devil in the wilderness, and in the CBS Jesus miniseries, the devil appears, and wait a minute. DJ, you ready for your mind? Hold your head together because your mind's about to explode. The devil is wearing a modern suit.
Oh, no way.
Doesn't that make you think a little bit?
Makes me
Isn't
think.
that kind of like really interesting?
Makes me think you ran out of costume budget and you just had a suit.
Greg, if you can just get your nicest suit. No, I know. The budget ran short. They were doing a whole CSI marathon, and
so you're about to take your glasses off and get stressed.
they went to Hawaii or something, so that was the whole budget for Jesus blown. So if you could just, I'm thinking
they always blow it on
suit,
the Jesus surfing
black
scene.
Shirt, red tie.
Wow,
like kind of devilly, you know. You'll come up with something. No, you will reimburse you, but don't go crazy. Go to like a Men's Warehouse.
You don't have a suit already?
He's a working actor. You never know.
Cher does this really like whining, like, and it's actually very funny. That could be very annoying, but the way she like pulls it off, she's like, she doesn't want to answer the door when Christian comes over, the guy that she has a thing for, and she's like, I can't, like just the way she does it. She's
very she does this vocalization in a lot of lines in different ways that just repeatedly charms me. When she, sides that car and she says, should we leave a note? It's very earnest. It's not like cavalier while she is currently driving away. Like it tricks me every time. When she says that, and she has this very cute way when her dad sees her in her white dress, he's like, what are you wearing? And she's like, a dress. And he says who? And she says, Calvin Klein. Like a very matter of fact, but like kind of like sweet and whiny. She's just a good girl is what I'm saying.
She becomes a good girl.
I mean, she's not a terrible monster. I mean, she's doing it from a good place. I mean, a good-ish place. I mean, she just wants better grades. But she also, I think, genuinely thinks that Wallace Shawn and Twink Kaplan, two names of humans, that
those are not even their character names.
Together. Yeah. Right. These are the names that someone has on a legal document that says it's their name. Twink Kaplan. Like if Gabe Kaplan was more live.
This movie is how I learned that Billie Holiday was a lady. Because
it's a funny line.
It is pretty funny. I love him. It's great.
It reminds me, I remember there was an episode of The Odd Couple. Who's that baseball player? Sandy Koufax?
Mm-hmm.
There's an episode where Oscar says to
Felix,
Tony, yes, Oscar says to Felix, he says something about Sandy Koufax, and Felix says, I don't know who she is. And I always laugh because I was like, that's something I can tell by your delivery that Sandy Koufax is not a woman.
Yeah. Same with Billie Holiday. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. So are we to assume just from the look that Dan Hedaya
Daddy
gives,
Dan Hedaya, yep.
Gives Josh Paul Rudd when he's kind of marble mouthed. He wants to go to the party with Cher. He wants to like go be there, and he's kind of like, well, you don't need me, and he's like, go to the party. And then when he leaves, he kind of gives this like, Dan Hedaya gives this like wry smile, like, my two children are in love.
My two children are gonna fuck. Yeah, I don't. I actually missed that smirk on my watch, and I apologize.
It's knowing.
To Dan Hedaya.
It's a knowing smirk. Like could, I guess, be like, oh, he wants to go to a party.
He wants to be a teen.
Yeah. But it seems like he knows more. He knows what's going on, which makes me be like, charmed by incest. Dan Hedaya, charmed by incest.
While Paul Rudd was, marble-mouthed and working through the sentence, Dan Hedaya was just going over the family tree one last time.
Is this
and
cool?
That's why at the end he's like, it's fine. I
Go to her.
checked. Go to her. Go to her. Josh.
What are your feelings on the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones?
Let me tell you this. I've never had to knock on wood. But I know someone who has. And if I could, something, I never had to knock on wood.
Wait,
I like a band that has a payroll so big that they just have an extra guy who just dances poorly on stage with them.
Skanking. Remember Skanking?
See, I was the biggest skank of them all. I wrote MMB in my notes, and only now do I remember what that means. So thank you for that.
You're
it
welcome.
Was Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Yeah. They are from Boston.
Oh, do you think that's where Boston gets its name?
Unrelated.
It knew that they were from Boston. They were like, oh, Boss Tones. What if we lop off a few letters and we just call the town Boston?
I like it. Let's do it.
Perfect.
Were you into ska? Maybe not. Like,
I know I have that air about me, confident and looking like I'm wearing a short brim fedora, but I was never that into ska. As much as a common man, I never got into the scene.
Yeah.
Just like I wasn't, swing dancing. But I'll listen to Brian Setzer, a few times on the radio. I'm only human.
That's not ska.
No, I was swing dance. I was talking about swing dancing.
Okay.
I'm not a fool.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember being told that, ska's big. And I was like, what's ska? And they would play it. I'm like, what is different about this? And they're like, no, this is ska. And I'm like, but why is it different than other music? Because there's 20 guys here? Because there's a trumpeter?
Oh, because
what makes ska?
Well, there's it's like fast reggae. There's usually like an upbeat. There's usually a horn section, which at the time was reserved for certain, like there, in the swing revival that happened as well. So it was a big era for horns. Good for you guys. They go in and out of favor in pop music. So they had a good time. Stuff like that. And it has grown out of like the merging of like punk and reggae scenes. It's complicated. Obviously stolen from minority communities as everything that kind of comes
familiar
into
with music.
Pop culture.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I'm sure someone who is like being into like, that's not ska, this is ska. Yeah, I acknowledged, and you're probably right, but I don't know it. So I'm not gonna pretend like I do. But when it hit big in the mid 90s, those were kind of the defining factors.
Who were other skas? Who were other ska people?
Oh man. I'll tell you who was big at
Lit ska? Was Lit a ska?
No. Okay. I think that's called butt rock, technically. I'll tell you who was popular at my junior high, and that was a band called the Krusty Watch Guys.
I'm sorry?
So shout out to them, the Krusty Watch Guys.
They were a locally sourced band? Okay.
Yeah.
Ethically sourced, hopefully. Not a blood band.
Sourced. Yeah. You got to wear your checkered shoes. You got to have a guy skanking, the whole thing.
Yeah. You're wearing trousers, but also maybe a wife beater. Don't say wife beater and a shirt. Or is that more swing dancing again? I think I'm confusing all of it into one thing.
Real Big Fish. That was another one.
Oh, yeah.
Sublime? Yeah, kind of.
They didn't skank. There weren't enough people in that band.
I'm looking at a list, so this is not my categorization, but that doesn't sound. I mean, I guess kind of. Anyway, I was not in the scene either. I was like not in any scene because I was 13 or whatever. But if I had been a bit older, I absolutely would have been into into that because I got very into grunge, which was like later for me.
I am remembering now my brother had No Doubt's first album, the album before Tragic Kingdom, and that was very ska.
Yeah, there's still some ska elements in Tragic Kingdom.
Right.
Like the kind of upbeat and the fast tempos and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of melding of genres. More importantly, Christian's into it. And he wants to hang out with the band afterwards. Don't worry about it.
Which makes me... It brings up a lot of visions of what the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones might have been into. I had a lot of questions about Christian.
Get into it.
I didn't know as slightly younger, and maybe I should have, called my brother sometime. Call your brother. He wants to hear from you. But I was like, come on. But
Dan Hedaya wants you to call your brother. Sorry.
As a gayman, but only slightly younger than this, I was a little confused by what I was supposed to make of Christian because in certain ways it's obvious that the movie is winking at you, and it's doing it in a very, I couldn't tell if it's doing it in a very clever way so that it's a little under the radar even just to a casual viewer, or if it's engaging in stereotypes that no longer ring true anymore. So I was just mostly confused by Christian, or if they're playing on stereotypes that were never true, and the person who wrote this never met a gay person in their life. It's not that Christian isn't accurate. It's just like, I'm trying to figure out how stereotypical is he supposed to be, because he is very rat packy, which seems very...
I don't think that's supposed to be a gay stereotype. I think that's supposed to make him
he's very
like
into
different.
ska music, which is also something I've never seen in my life. But then he's playing Billie Holiday. That's fun. He's reading William S. Burroughs. I'm like, okay, I think I see what you're doing. He's into Tony Curtis movies, specifically Some Like It Hot and Spartacus, which seems weird.
He's kind of like a swing kid.
Yeah, I guess so. I did enjoy him. He looks like if Jean-Paul Gaultier redesigned James Dean. Like he's all like squished and lips, and he's very handsome, comely lass. Don't say comely. He's got that wavy James Dean sort of pompadour thing. But then also he'll say things like, they'll ask him about Amber, frenemy Amber, and he goes, Hagsville. And I'm like, well, okay, come on.
By that point, I think we're supposed to start, like, that's the scene where we're supposed to start picking up on this.
Well, not to mention, he's flirting with the bartender in one part, and then he's dancing deliberately with a boy, which Paul Rudd clocked across the room.
Yeah. And Cher is still not buying it at this point, not understanding. But
Murray knew the entire time.
Oh yeah. Well, guys talk.
Both Anne Murray and the character Murray knew.
Anne Murray always knows.
Even from up in cold Canada, she knows.
Do you feel? I do think they did this, especially this era. It could have been very yikes. Just the reveal of this person being a homosexual, like that could have been. I'm not saying they handled it perfectly or anything, but like it didn't make him seem.
I wouldn't
like
even
a bad
see.
guy.
I'm trying to think if they did anything bad. I don't think they really did.
They didn't.
Maybe Murray you could read as a little bit homophobic, but it didn't even seem that bad. Like calling someone a friend of Dorothy just seems more dated than offensive, at least for me.
Yeah. You would also say that too. Like if you knew that someone was gay, you would absolutely say that to me if I didn't know.
Oh, it's like horrible things.
Not like friend of Dorothy, but you would say stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because it's like. Actually, you'd probably say friend of Dorothy just because that would be funny because it's so dated.
Because I am also dated. I'm also a gay man from 1945.
Yeah, it doesn't make it necessarily like I don't know. I could see a way you could twist it to be upset, but it's not offensive really. I don't think.
No, they don't like treat him badly either. Once he comes out,
he's a friend. He becomes
one of their
best
friends,
friend immediately,
and he like helps her in her quest to like become a better person by showing her all the beauty in life.
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah, I don't think there's really, I mean, I think to Clueless's credit, I don't know if there's really anything all that offensive about the reveal of Christian. It's like, no, he's gay. That's it. And it's like, oh, then I will stop pursuing him. I won't try to change. That's who he is. So I'm just going to leave him alone.
Yeah.
And, that's that. And there doesn't seem to be any sort of mocking of him. Even in the stuff they sort of engage with, like, William S. Burroughs and Tony Curtis movies in Hagsville don't seem very offensive. They seem very specific to his character and not just his homosexuality or whatever, his queerness.
Well, and the interesting thing too is like he does. I don't know if I would say he leads her on, but I can see where she got mixed signals.
I think they're both idiots, is what I gathered from their interactions. I'm like, oh, you're both stupid. Okay,
you kind of forgive that too, because like he's probably as out as most gay people were in 1995.
He seems pretty comfortable with himself.
He's comfortable with himself, but like I could see him not telling her because he doesn't know how she's going to react.
Because it's high school and it's 1995. Yeah.
Yeah. You see how picky she is about shoes, and they only go on her feet. So
you get it. I mean, and also to his credit, like the minute he realizes, like, oh, she is trying to put the moves on old Christian, he's like, you know what? I should go home and leave.
Yeah,
and I feel uncomfortable immediately.
Yeah, yeah. I really liked Cher's wave back to Josh when she identifies him across the room at the frat party, because he found the only adult in the room. It's like he's deliberately trying not to have fun, and he like sees her and like gives like a wave, and then she just goes like we rewound it and watched it again because
she
really
snarkily
good.
Smiles while waving like you would to your brother or other sibling. Also about that scene, that club scene, that very well lit club. I didn't catch this on any other previous watch, but Brittany Murphy like dancing by herself, and every time the camera would come back to her, she's shifted her outfit around slightly.
Yes,
she's wearing an overshirt, and then it's like the shirt's tied around her waist. Then all of a sudden, she's using the shirt as like sort of a hairband. It's very cute.
It is cute.
I want to say this because this is God rest her soul, R.I.P. A Flight of Princess, sing thee to thy rest. But Brittany Murphy in this. I was not a big fan of her career.
Yeah.
But she's great in this. She might be my...
There's a laser on your forehead right now. I don't know if that's something to worry about.
She's fantastic in this, and I may even nominate her for the Catherine O'Hara Memorial MVP Award. Her accent, she's got that Jersey accent. She's rough and tumble. She says this is the first time she's hung around so many straight friends. Which I felt like, I don't know if that meant what I think it as. I felt like she was like a stoner, and now she was hanging out with straight-laced friends.
I don't know. The way they reacted to it.
When did straight enter the zeitgeist as meaning heterosexual?
I don't know. I think before this. I think before 1995.
Well, I know that queer people would refer to straight people, but I also think it was born out of like the hippie culture referring to straight-laced people. Mm.
Well, and this was like the first.
Or am I making up queer history? Anyone want to reach out?
Well, Christian was the first gay, so
right. We are all. It's like Adam and Eve. Well, actually, Adam and Steve. We're all born from Christian. Any gay man worth his salt can trace his lineage right back to Christian from Clueless.
Them driving on the highway for the first time, Dion accidentally gets on the highway. We were just in LA, and Lauren said, she's like, that reminded me of my experience driving in LA, just like getting on the highway, like freaking out.
That just reminded me of getting on the highway for the first time as a 17-year-old.
Yeah. They are not good drivers, admittedly, too.
Yes, they are terrible drivers, but also like that first time you get on the highway is terrifying.
Yeah. There are people that are clearly still terrified by it because they won't fucking merge.
I don't know if I have much.
You
hymenally challenged. I mean, I think.
Oh, the quotes. Else. Yeah, do you want to do a quote roundup?
Yeah, let's get it. Let's get it out of the way.
You want to start?
It's like a famous quote from where? Cliff's Notes.
It's good.
That was my first out loud laugh.
Do they still have Cliff's Notes?
Today?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's like a website or something.
Yeah.
Cliffsnotes.gov.
We already mentioned don't tell me those brain dead low lives. Been calling again. They're your parents. Dion and I were both named after famous singers who now do infomercials. I totally paused. I like that one.
I already mentioned Get Out of My Chair, which is my perfect. Second laugh, like loud laugh, cackling. One might say, witch laugh. Sometimes you have to show a little skin, which reminds them of being naked, which reminds them of sex, which is, I like the psychology of having to explain why people like seeing, attractive people partially unclothed.
We share talking about boys. They're just like these nervous creatures that jump up and slobber all over you. Compares them to puppies. And that's when some kid kind of gloms onto her and she just shoves them away and goes, as if. But that was a very good as if delivery, because as if is one of those burned out lines where it's it's not funny by itself anymore, but that did make me laugh.
It's still great.
Yeah.
Hold on. Dan Hedaya, of course. Mm-hmm. When Christian arrives, full on, Dean Martin, he says, "You think Sammy Davis Jr.'s death left an opening in the Rat Pack?" And then he says something the usual dad scaring boys away from his daughter misogyny. But he says, "I have a 45 and a shovel. I doubt anyone would miss you." Just absolutely withering attacks on teenagers.
I remember specifically memorizing that because I liked it so much back when I was a teenager. I don't know who I said it to. Kind of scary now to think about.
Apparently you're just threatening murder upon
people. I don't remember what she's talking about. She says, "I was brutally rebuffed."
There were a few instances of really good cinematography with otherwise, normal lines. Mm-hmm. When she's at the party, she says, "Love was everywhere." And the shot is like a guy vomiting into the pool while people are swimming.
Would you call me selfish? No, not to your face.
I also got a real kick out of Brittany Murphy sobbing while trying to sing "Rolling with the Homies," "Rolling with my homies."
We already said my plastic surgeon doesn't want me participating in any activities where balls fly at my nose. There goes your social life. Also, he says to her when she negotiates new grades, "Honey, I couldn't be happier than if they were based on real grades."
Right. And right before that, she says, "You always say I don't accept the first offer, so I figured these grades were just a jumping off point."
Dion, don't you want to use your popularity for good? No. She just says no.
And also when she loses her outfit is at the dry cleaning, she says, "It's my most capable looking outfit."
Yeah. I don't remember the rest of the quote, but Murray says he calls Dion woman and she doesn't like it. And then he has memorized this block of text where something well, some words do have mocking that don't have not necessarily misogynistic undertones.
Right. They're not rooted in misogyny.
He's pleased with himself. And then Ty is very impressed. She's like, "You guys talk like grown-ups." She's like, "This is a really good school."
And this is one that Tyler threw at me before I was more familiar with Clueless. This wasn't a personal attack, but he liked to say, "You're a virgin who can't drive."
Way harsh, Ty. That's another one. Lauren and I say that a lot, actually. Shit, you guys have never had straight friends before. We mentioned that. How about sterilization? I like that. That's a good one. I hope not sporadically, which ties when she learns the new word. And
right. Cher. And she also calls Spartacus Sporadicus.
Yeah. Okay, do you have more?
I just have a freak accident during a routine liposuction. Is how her mother died. Right. And I don't have my license, but I need something to learn on for this very expensive looking Jeep.
Cher is on the phone with Dion, and she talks away from the phone for a second to talk to Ty, I think. And Dion Like, it's been like a second, and Deanne goes, hello? Like, she's so mad.
Oh, it almost makes you forget that she's a conservative MAGA Republican.
I know. I don't want to talk too much about Stacey Dash because she's so good in this movie, and it makes me very sad because she's gone.
Because she sucks now.
She sucks now. She's gone crazy. I have actually quoted this and didn't know what it's from, but let's do a lap before you commit to a location when they get to the party.
My brother taught me that he took me to my first gay bar. Let's do a lap before we.
You want to get the lay of the land.
Yeah, you just want to know who's there, what's going on, where the big crowd at the bar, where that guy that Jason never called again is standing, so we can stand on the opposite end of the bar.
You ready to go to the verdict?
Yes.
Let's go. Let's go. Hop in my Jeep. I need another fully licensed driver, but otherwise we can go.
Or as a gay man, I have a 1951 convertible, what have you, over here playing Billie Holiday.
That sounds more fun. Let's go there.
It does seem more fun than a Jeep.
Damon.
Fuck you, Jeep. Oh, yeah.
Damon.
Go ahead.
What is your verdict?
Your Inner Child obviously is not an idiot. This is a hilarious movie. It's very enjoyable. It's very quotable. It's something, I feel like it's a very Saturday afternoon movie. It's one of those movies you would catch on TBS, very funny, and watch it to the very end. Every time. You can't get away from not watching Clueless to its end, just to see Twin Kaplan get married, I was rooting for her. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have no bad things really to say about this movie. I mean, maybe the worst I can say is that, hey, don't marry your stepbrother, but they're not even, they don't share a genetic pool. Their kids will look good.
Well, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Clueless. Big surprise. Fantastic movie. Deej?
There's some usage of the R word, which other dated references and stuff like that's nothing quite that egregious, I don't think. But that's bad. But also, like, it was bad at this time, but society hadn't decided it was as bad at that time. So it doesn't get a pass, but you just got to like kind of put a little note next to it. But Your Inner Child's not an idiot. This movie is great. Alicia Silverstone was adorable. I had a huge crush on both her and Stacey Dash, and I think I was right about that. They're adorable. I'm going to stand up for my past self.
History has proven you right that these attractive women were attractive.
I think I said in the intro that like I couldn't remember when the Aerosmith videos came in. Apparently, Amy Heckerling, who's like the director and writer of this movie, saw one of those videos and like had Alicia Silverstone in mind for this role, which is pretty cool. And lucky that she turned out to be a good actress, I think, because she didn't have as much. I mean, she was good in those videos, but it's a music video.
But she doesn't say anything.
She didn't say anything.
She just flicks a guy off from the bridge.
Yeah.
Rude.
It's a good move. This movie's great. I love this movie. I would watch it again right now, which most of the stuff we watch, I would not. Even the stuff I like. It's just great. There's so many little running bits in it, like jokes. It does like become less jokey as the movie goes on, which makes sense.
Which is, yeah.
That's how plots work usually. But
you've become invested in these characters. You don't want to see them made fun of. You just don't.
But the first act is just like jokes, and I really enjoy it. What do you think, everybody?
Wait, do you second my nomination of Brittany Murphy? We have to have quorum.
I don't know, because she's good. I like Brittany Murphy, and I feel I have the same sort of relationship with her career as I was kind of like, I loved her in this, and then I kind of didn't see a lot else. I've never seen 8 Mile.
You didn't see Just Married?
I didn't see Just
Little
Married.
Black Book?
Didn't see that. So I'm not familiar. And of course, like, obviously her tragic death at a young age, like, made her like extremely famous, but in not a way that like made me want to go back and watch her whole catalog or anything. She is funny in this. Okay, so Alicia Silverstone's too obvious a pick. We can't do that. It's got to be an unexpected person. I guess, yeah. I'll second it. Let's do it. MVP.
The only competition is Dan Hedaya, and he's just not in the movie that much.
Dan Hedaya. Yeah, we can't
really
give
funny.
it to...
Get out of my chair.
Yeah. We were talking off mic about Dan Hedaya and how much we liked it, but also like in a woman-fronted ensemble, you're going to give it to the only, like one of the few guys in it? No, we can't do that.
We already did that. Wait, we didn't do it. It wasn't a League of Their Own, because we gave that to Rosie O, right?
I don't remember.
Or at least I did in our Instagram feed. But I feel like there was another female-led ensemble, and we both picked a man to be the MVP. And the minute we hung up our little microphones, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with us?
Yeah, just go by like who tickles, your funny bone, and if you don't think about it, you're like, oh, that's kind of shitty. Obviously, like, the main, Alicia Silverstone is carrying this movie, and I think that the ensemble is great overall.
No, but they're all great.
But
Jeremy Sisto aside.
Well, no accounting for Cranberries fans,
Wow. Have to let it linger. Do you have to? Do you have to let it linger?
Zombie. You gotta get the
troubles. The troubles, Deej.
Get the little yodel in there.
Yeah. It's a little, yeah. How would you mark that in the music? With just a little,
I don't know.
Line on it.
I've never marked a yodel. I mean, it was just. I don't know.
You get a teenager in, and they do the work themselves. You don't have to mark it because their voice is changing. Guys. Anyone?
Yeah, sure. What do you think, everybody? Your inner child is an idiot at gmail.com. Email us. You can text us or leave voicemail 615-576-0525. All right, let's see. Who goes first today?
Every time it hits me like a surprise that we have to do that thing that we do at the end of every episode.
Do that.
Do you have to let it linger?
Okay. I'm ready. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, big time.
We want to thank our patrons, including
Dr. Malcolm's Heaving Bosom,
David Mort,
Tyler Richardson,
the supreme ruler of this podcast,
Shit on the Cartouche,
Jonathon Day,
Jeremy Powlen,
Lindsay Halik,
Larissa Maestro,
Karen Curd,
Heather Tuggle,
Travis Vance,
Demons of Street,
Captain Jean-Luc Picard,
Lindsay Nell, Lindsay Nell,
The Hands of Fate,
Dan McIntyre,
the totally elusive fan Gromkin.
Oh, I see what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Josh Frigo.
Dramatically placed hot dog.
I like when they vomit at the end of the words they say. Beth Surmont.
Gag me with a spoon. Hizoner the mayor.
Just cause.
Scalfasaurus? As if.
Particle Man.
T. Smith. I don't know. I can't think of anything. I'm sorry.
Like the Zesty?
Jackson has a totally unhealthy obsession with Damon.
Agreed.
Thank you, everyone, and sorry. If you want to support the show like them, patreon.com/your inner child is an idiot. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Okay. I thought you were talking to me, which you've never thanked me at the end of one of these, but it would be weird if you started now.
Damon?
Hey.
Thank you.
No eye contact. Absolutely not. That's the longest we've ever looked at each other in the eyes. No. But hey,
thank you. It's good for me because the screen's down here, so I actually don't have to see you staring back.
Right, you just have to
make
look.
You
just
feel
look
creepy.
right at the thing.
I'm so grateful for our friendship.
Okay, hang in there, baby. I don't know what else encouraging to say.
All right. You did it.
Me.